Welcome to the Real Estate Investing Podcast, where we help you unlock your potential freedom through land investing, real estate investing, and entrepreneurship. Hey everyone, this is episode 89 of the Real Estate Investing Podcast discussing hiring a virtual assistant for your land business. I'm your host, Daniel Apke, joined again by my brother and business partner, Ron Apke. Before we get into the show, let's go over a question from one of our members in our free Discord. Question is from Sam. I have a property that is currently going through probate. The seller wants to sell as soon as possible, but we have to wait for it to go all the way through probate. They say it's about 2 months out. What can I do to secure this deal and not lose it?
Yeah, I don't know if they started probate when you went under contract or they started probate prior to that and they just were planning on selling it after they finished probate. It's difficult if they get other offers and they talk to other people. It could be difficult to hold your offer. The one thing you want to do is just keep assuring them, like, we'll close this right away. Maybe if you're that close to closing, maybe get it to an attorney as well if the probate is that close to closing. But you just need to be in constant communication. I think this relationship part of this deals like this are so important because they just want to get rid of the land. They're inheriting the land, based on everything that I know. They're inheriting it, they're getting in their name, and they just want to flip it and get some money. They didn't pay any money for it to get the land, so they're just trying to flip it and whatever, get any money and just be assured that it's going to close. So if you can provide that assurance to them, I think you'll be able to close. 2 months isn't that long, like not that much is going to happen. Just have a phone call with them once every 2 weeks or something like that. Just make sure you're in their mind and that you're their buyer that they know, and just you should have a contract already, so hopefully that kind of secures it in their mind that I'm under contract with this person. Maybe get a new contract that says we're going to close right after probate or within 7 days of probate to make them feel better. But other than that, there's only so much you can do if they do get an offer that's $10,000 higher than yours or something.
Absolutely. And like Ron said, make sure you're under contract. They didn't really specify this in the question, Ron, but hopefully you are under contract and they just don't want to sell. You have the purchase agreement executed. That's the first step. Definitely get that under contract. Other than that, let's get into the show. Hiring a virtual assistant for your land business. And I think, Ron, this is so beneficial. We've been talking about outsourcing a lot in these episodes, and a lot of people are commenting and really engaging with them. So we're going to smash it again and just talk about hiring your first virtual assistant, or maybe it's not your first and you can still get some value out of this.
Yeah, for sure. I know how much I love our virtual assistants and how much they do for us. And I can't imagine like doing all the stuff that they do myself. And it would make our business scale at such a slower pace if Daniel or myself had to do some of these things. So the value in doing this and doing it properly is so important. And then just knowing how to manage them as well. And also knowing, I think one of the most important things with virtual assistants, Dan, is giving them the most important or not the most important task, the best tasks for them that fit their skill set, really with any employee, but them in particular, because they can't do everything. You can't put a ton on their plate. It needs to be detailed and stuff like that. But I'm sure you can get into a little more detail on that part, Dan.
Absolutely. And I guess, Ron, for someone just starting out, the biggest thing is they can do tasks that you really hate to do. Those tedious tasks they're great at. That's a great place to start with the virtual assistant, are those tedious data scrubbing type of monotonous tasks that you can make a Loom video on, send it to them, and they cannot really, if they follow the Loom video, it's hard for them to really fail at that task. I think if there's a Loom video and good instructions, they're very, from my experience with them, I used to have other online businesses with multiple, and we only had those. So our sales reps were those, our customer service was that. I had a manager, virtual assistant, Filipino manager. So from my experience with them, as long as you're extremely detailed up front and providing very, very clear, I guess, instructions, it really works out well in your favor. But that's the key, Ron, like you said, is just getting really, really clear with their instructions. They're not going to grow your business. Some people think they're going in terms of like, they're not going to come up with ideas to grow your business. Some people hire them like they're a solution who can do all kinds of different tasks that maybe an American could do, but you really at the end of the day pay for what you get a lot of times, Ron. Obviously, it's a lot cheaper income. People do this because it's so cheap over there. So you're paying someone $3 to $6 an hour to do these tasks, and it is extremely great return on investment from my experience.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking as you were talking. I don't think there's a time that's like it's never too early to hire a virtual assistant, if you have the funds to do it or something like that. If you're trying to scale, like they can help you scale because it's going to free up your time. They're not going to, like Daniel said, they're not going to help you scale by negotiating with sellers or stuff like that, but they can help you scale by giving you more time to do the big tasks in your business. And like I said, I do not think if you're day one and you have some extra money and you've learned everything yourself, I don't think that's too early personally. I'm curious to see what you think, Dan, but I don't think there's any time that's too early to hire a virtual assistant just with how affordable they are. You're paying a couple $100s a week, not even a couple $100s a week, and they can free up so much time. It's extremely valuable for growing your business.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think of some different things early on, like you're saying that they can do for you. The first thing, obviously, that came to my mind, stuff with the data scrubbing, posting and listing properties on the for sale side. CRM work is a big one that we have, like putting links in, pictures, back end work, all back end work in general. They were very, very good at. And I do have a friend and another land investor who uses their virtual assistants for pricing. He has Loom videos on and it's very, very specific. I don't know how that's going for him in general, but he does have virtual assistants pricing. And he also has a Filipino transaction coordinator doing all that as well. He pays them a little more than the average virtual assistant to get a better quality, I think. But I'm not going to tell you you can't do that because I know people who are. You just, in general, aren't going to get the same talent as hiring an American, in my opinion. But get creative because they can do a lot if you train them properly. From my experience, also around, they're extremely loyal and they like having a place to work, having a secure job that brings them some joy and purpose. And we'll get into the reasons why it's beneficial on their end to take this salary and work as a virtual assistant, because I do want to touch that because everyone always asks, why would they come work for you for $34 an hour?
Yeah, without a doubt. From your experience then, what's the most important thing like managing them? I know you said kind of being detailed and stuff like that, but I've had only good experiences with them thus far, which I think isn't it's definitely not the case for everyone. But as far as managing them, making sure, not ensuring, because you're never going to be able to ensure good results, but giving them the best chance to succeed and them being giving them the best chance to be a good fit for your business.
Yeah, I've had good and bad experiences just like any employee. Ron's experience with our virtual assistant now came from my other business. So that was one that we wanted to keep because he was so good. So Ron kind of got the filtration from the 10 to 20 that I've had in the past and got the best one that we've had. But yeah, from my experience, I think being very clear and direct with them is very important because they do not understand. They're raised in a whole different culture, Ron. Being extremely clear and direct with them and what you want, they don't understand our a lot of our language in terms of our humor and things like that. So you have to be very, very clear and direct to them. I think that's the number one thing with managing them.
Yeah, that's a good point, and that's what it's just been natural, I think, because he did come in so trained and, like, if you tell him to do something or ask him to do a task once every Tuesday morning at 7:45 AM or whatever it is, he's going to do it every like, they are extremely detailed, they're organized or he's organized, I'm associating him with all of them, but he's, unbelievably, like, detailed, he's not gonna miss something, he reminds us of stuff when we forget something ourselves, but it's just tasks, like, one thing I had him do this morning was just, like I one thing with our Discord, Dan, that I like is making sure we're transparent and having our actual names on Discord. So obviously keeping like real names on Discord. I just told him whenever we have people who come in, I understand nicknames and stuff in other servers. And I just told him whenever we have people come in, just send them this link or send them this video on how to change their nickname in our server. Just introduce them to the server. And I know he's going to do that every single time. Like I'm never going to have to check on his work or anything like that. And if he has a question, he'll ask, which is really good as well.
Exactly. And they're just like any other employee in terms of the quality you get. Like there's good ones and bad ones, Ron. So I want to make sure like you still have to go through a hiring and interview process, and we can talk about that in a bit. And we'll actually also talk about where you can go to find them and where we've gotten to find them. But in general, you have good ones and bad ones. I've had virtual assistants that lied to me. I've had virtual assistants that have been nothing but great, and everything in between. And I've had to fire a lot of virtual assistants as well. So you have to go through the interview process. I would treat it like your core values, like we talk about. They need to fit in the organization. I personally labeled this episode virtual assistant, but I do not like that because I don't like that word because Ron and I hired these virtual assistants full time. So they're not really a virtual assistant. They're a full time employee for us. So we actually are giving our virtual assistant a new title. Virtual assistants doesn't really, it sells him short, I think, because he does so much more than that. He's really just a senior assistant or something, I would call him. I have no idea. I'm just making that up off the top of my head. But in general, they can do as much as you really want them to. You can scale. I think you can scale if you really wanted to, Ron. If you were very systematic and had all your processes and videos in place, I think you could have transact or overseas virtual assistants for almost every role if you really, really wanted to force it. It would be a lot more difficult, a lot more training, and a lot more turnover, I would assume.
Yeah, that scares me. That thought of that honestly is which I haven't seen the thinking part as far as like really being able to decision making stuff is what I have seen be kind of a struggle a bit, which is understandable for sure. And I just look at it the way I've always looked at it is getting these Loom videos. Like I've used Loom a ton. If you don't have it, if you have a virtual assistant and don't have Loom, get Loom so you can just make these videos and you can create a database opposed to showing them once over Zoom or something like that. You have these recorded videos, title them, put them in folders, and you can future virtual assistants. You're going to have turnover at the position or you're going to add to your staff where you can teach them other things. We use those Loom videos so much for our new employees, our American and virtual assistants. So it's something that you should be using video and then they can go back to it opposed to asking you a question. They can go back and watch the video before they ask you whatever question it is. So I think that's a really key in training, not just virtual assistants, Daniel, but really training anyone, like having a training program almost or a database.
Absolutely. And the thing is with training, Ron, once you have one person really trained in that task, you can start hiring other people and they can help train the other people as well. And that's what I used to do with my virtual assistants at my other business. Because we at one point, I can't remember how many we had, but we had 5 to 10 at once just working in the customer service department and they were just answering phones. So anytime a new virtual assistant salesperson who would be answering inbound calls was onboarded, I'd put them with my virtual assistant manager, Vanessa, and she'd just train them all day. And then she'd pass them to Vince for a little to see how he operated. And I'm really just kind of overseeing it. And it was awesome. Once you have a bunch of people in place that can train for you, that's when I really, really see things kind of take off, Ron. Because right now you see how it is training people ourselves, especially like the sales rep that we're training now and all. It's just really tedious training, and you don't know if it's going to work out or not. So they could be gone in a couple months and do it all over again. Same thing with virtual assistants. Get them trained. You can always bring on more virtual assistants and they can help train the new ones. But I think the tip for outsourcing in general, Ron, is know how to do it yourself because you have to make these Loom videos. So know how to do it yourself so you can train them properly because like Ron said, the thinking aspect is not in general is not their strength in terms of making those higher level decisions. Like it is same with American employees. Like most American employees can't make those decisions. It takes them 6 months to 18 months to learn how we operate our vision and how we would make decisions and really install those core values, Ron. So make sure you know how to do everything very, very well before hiring.
Yeah, without a doubt. I don't have much more to add on this topic, Dan. I'm trying to think because you've obviously had, you said you wanted to bring something up, and I can't remember exactly what that was. Do you
Oh, where to
recall?
find them?
Yeah, go ahead with that.
So the two places I have gone successfully, the most successful one I've been to is onlinejobs.ph. So it's onlinejobs.ph. And then the other one that I've had some success at, you're going to get more people applying on this and you're going to have to filter them through, kind of like listing on Facebook Marketplace. Our properties, Ron, you get a ton of leads and not a lot of good ones. Manila Craigslist. So just the Manila version of Craigslist. And Online Jobs does a really good job. They are just for virtual assistants. So they do a really good job of filtering them out, making sure they're qualified. They give them tests and exams, and then they grade them on those tests and exams to get even someone be able to apply to your job. So there's a lot of filtration period before they actually apply to your job. I've had a lot. It's really serious applicants. I've had a lot of good success on Online Jobs, It is money though. I think to post your job, it's like 75 bucks or something a month. So I just usually pause my membership right after and post it and then resume it whenever I need to. So I have an account with them and I just keep it on pause until I need it. I would personally use them. It is they do a good job. I know I've listened to a lot about the founder of that company and I really respect him and what he's doing. And he's grown this business and he is operating onlinejobs.ph, I think with 90% virtual assistants or 95%. And they have a lot of employees as well. So it's pretty cool because he believes in it. But the other thing, there's one other thing I wanted to bring up, Ron, and now I'm going blank because I brought it up earlier. Where to find them? And there's one other thing. Do you recall?
No, I don't. I don't know if you want to talk about bad experience or anything like that. I don't remember you saying anything like that that you want to bring up. Um, where to find them for sure was the one that I remember. Is it an American who founded that company?
Yeah,
Okay. That's interesting. I think how much value, like having it, just the value they can bring that sounds like a really intuitive website, just like an American website like Indeed or anything like that. It's just at a different scale and it's different types of employees. I hear some people that I talk to, just friend groups who just work a normal 9 to 5, like they look at it and like look at what we pay these people and like, oh, you wanted to talk about why they would take the job, Dan. That's why. That's what you
that's
want
what
to
it
talk about.
was.
Yeah. So go into that because I've had people like I tell them I'm paying someone whatever it is. It's obviously less than an American, and they look at it like it's just a crazy low amount, and we're like, it's not scam artists, but you know what I'm saying, taking advantage, which isn't the case at all. So if you want to go into that, Daniel, I think that's a good point.
Yeah, and I'm looking up the founder now so I can remember John Jonas. John Jonas, onlinejobs.ph. So John Jonas, I used to listen to him quite a bit. He was on some different podcasts and things I was following back when I had my other e-commerce stores, and he really taught me a lot of how to hire and properly manage virtual assistants. But the way that, and I remember him talking about how when they first started the business, they were going to universities because this works both ways, right? You don't just need Americans and Australians and English people getting on and putting up your job applications on the site. It works both ways. So you have the people looking for the talent and then you have the talent. And online jobs is that company that branches both sides together. They branch the talent, which is the virtual assistants, to the people looking for the talent, which is the American or Australian companies. There's a ton of Australian companies that use them as well. So he would actually go to universities over there and sell it, pretty much get their applications on. He would be speaking in front of classes, getting people on the site. That's how he got it going. And to be able to do that, you have to provide value. So it's not just because we're paying them $3 to $6, $7 an hour, it doesn't mean the cost of living over there is so much lower, guys. And the one thing you have to learn about the Philippines too, the transportation system's not the greatest and it can be dangerous as well. So these people have to commute an hour to get to Manila to go work at their corporate job in Manila or whatever they're doing, or their call center for Google or whatever it is. And they have to take that bus or train, wake up very early, take it there, work bad hours. So they're traveling at night a lot. If they're working, say for Google, they have to get to the Google office by 11 a.m. or 11 at night, and they're working because over here it's I think 12-hour difference or something, Ron. So the biggest thing that he said, or one of the biggest things, is it's a fair market salary that we're paying them. Plus, they get to stay home with their families, and they get to stay home so that they don't need to spend all that time and money commuting. It's expensive and it's not easy to commute over there. So it really, like, they love it. And that's why you get that loyalty, I think, is because they see how much value it is just being able to wake up, work from their house, not worry about having to get to and from Manila, which can be a really dangerous city at certain times. From what I've heard, I've never been there personally, but that's the two reasons, Ron.
Yeah, that's really interesting. It makes a lot of sense, even if they are taking whatever a little. I don't know what call centers and stuff like that, but as far as it is a 12-hour difference. So right now, when our virtual assistant works from 9:30 Eastern time to I think 4:30 Eastern time, and that's nine. It's 12-hour difference, so that's 9:30 p.m. to 4:30 a.m. that he works for us. So you can imagine traveling at those hours and trying to go to a call center. Like one, it's just really, really. This is hard on their body as well. But I think they just adjust. But like that's really, really difficult where you got to come and then you travel back at 4 a.m., 5 a.m., and then you got to go to sleep and then do it again. So I think the value in just being able to stay home, and I love being able to stay home and work from home when I want personally, and this is normal hours. So the value they have and the loyalty, like the loyalty is what I love so much. It just feels like they'll run through a wall for you, honestly. And like they'll be very transparent too, that and you'll feel it if they weren't going to work out. But I mean that makes a ton of sense from that perspective. Like going to those call centers and working for a bigger company that's a little more stringent and stuff like that could be it would definitely be a little harder on them without a doubt.
I've personally only had one quit on me, and that was she was I think 18 or 19 and in college, and she had dreams to be a writer and stuff, so she went to like write blogs for another company. But it's the stability, Ron, because there are a lot of people looking for virtual assistants that don't have legitimate businesses. Their businesses turn over. Maybe it's a drop shipping business, maybe whatever it is, Ron. They don't have having that work from home through onlinejobs.ph doesn't always provide stability because there's so many people like us putting applications out there, but our business is much more stable than a lot of businesses. So they see it and you give them stability like that and they give you loyalty. It's kind of an exchange. So if you provide them a safe place to work in terms of a stable job, if they're doing working, they'll work really, really hard for you, which is why I love. But that's all I have, Ron. Any last comments?
No, that's all good. Yeah, if you are thinking about it, it's probably a good decision to at least start looking into it. Maybe pay at $75 a month and post them. Maybe just do some not mock interviews, but interview a few and see if there's a good fit for you.
I also haven't been on onlinejobs.ph in probably 6 to 12 months. So if it's not $75 a month and they raised it or something, maybe they lowered it. I have no idea, but I apologize. But yeah, it's something, it is a monthly fee from what I remember. But that's all, guys. Thank you for joining. To get started and to unlock your freedom, visit landinvestingonline.com/discord, where Ron and I and other successful investors are involved in our free Discord community. Please like and subscribe to this YouTube channel, Apple Podcast, Spotify, or whatever you guys are listening on. It means a ton. Other than that, thanks for joining. We'll see you next episode.
Thanks, guys.